so we don't want to start late. And I thank all of you who have been here on time. Uh, Gordon Charles, President of the OECS Business Council, Lokesh Singh, publisher of AMS, colleagues of the OECS, members of the media. We are here today for a very simple ceremony, and that is to launch the first issue of the OECS Business Focus. So the format that we're going to take today is just some remarks by me, then by Lokesh, then by Gordon, and then we are going to do a symbolic handover, followed by just a walkthrough of the website, and entertain some questions from the media in St. Lucia and from any of the member states who may wish to ask some questions in relation to this event. And I emphasize in relation to this event. The concept of the OECS single space embraces the idea of harmonization of the economies of the OECS to the extent that doing business within that single space is as doing business within the territorial confines of any member state. A single economic space involves the free movement of people, goods, services, capital, and ideas. Today, we launched the OECS Business Focus magazine, which we intend to make a central mechanism for the dissemination of business intelligence on and for the OECS. In today's brutally competitive global business environment, the rapid dissemination, the free and easy access to information and ideas is an often decisive factor in succeeding or failing. In fact, so critical is the flow of information and intelligence that Bill Gates has written a seminal book entitled Business at the Speed of Thought. Today, the race is, contrary to popular belief, not just for he who endures to the end, but for the nimble and the swiftest. The OECS Business Focus is a product of a new partnership between the OECS Commission, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the OECS Business Council, which is an autonomous private sector umbrella body, and AMS Publishing. This partnership represents an amalgamation of the best strengths of key economic organs of the OECS integration project and the private sector. The tremendous information and human analytic resources of our central bank, coupled with the growing engagement of the Commission through its competitive business unit in supporting innovative business, is now being aligned with the united and independent voice of the private sector, the Business Council, and AMS Advertising. AMS has for more than a decade established a well-respected business-focused brand in several OECS and CARICOM countries. They bring this brand recognition, they bring considerable marketing and publishing expertise to this project. It is important to note that although free to all, the magazine is designed to be a self-financing initiative that will support and sustain itself through advertising. The OECS Business Focus therefore embodies the very principles of entrepreneurship and business sustainability that it preaches. The magazine will initially be published quarterly and will alternate between a geographic focus, that is a focus on individual member states, as in case of the first issue focusing on St. Kitts, and a thematic focus, drilling in depth on particular economic sectors across the OECS, like tourism, for example, or ICT. We have started with a focus on the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis because it was the birthplace of our integration project, the location for the signing of both the treaty and the revised Treaty of Bastia, and because of the historical performance of its economy. Associated with the magazine is a dedicated website, the OECSBusinessFocus.com, which would be the virtual extension of the magazine. The website will contain digital copies and archives of the magazine, but will go way beyond just electronic distribution of the paper magazine. It is destined to be a real-time source of business intelligence, providing updates and more information in greater depth than the paper magazine can deliver. Ultimately, it will offer through paid subscription a deeper layer of access to business statistics, data, and information that will be invaluable to making sensible business decisions. We have invited the OECS Business Council to play a dynamic role at the editorial level of the magazine to ensure that it serves the needs of the business sector, that it maintains relevance, and that it is always fresh and exciting. The magazine, website, and social media extensions, and there will be extensive social media extensions, Facebook, Twitter, etc., will be a primary channel for the accessing of the kind of information and business intelligence that will stimulate investment and the visioning of opportunity in the single economic space. Professional contributions will come from experts in the organs of the OECS, universities in the region, expert practitioners in industry and business. A related dimension of this medium is that we would like to make it a showcase of the best business thinking in the region that is aligned to international best practice. In closing, allow me to give special recognition to those persons who have been instrumental in moving this project forward with lightning speed, or as I would prefer to call it, business focus at the speed of thought. Our publisher, Mr. Lokesh Singh, for his enthusiastic embrace of the idea and the mobilization of the technical and financial resources to make this a reality. To team members of the OECS who contributed articles, and special recognition to our Head of Functional Cooperation, Ms. Beverly Bess, and our Head of Competitive Business, Mr. Vincent Filbert, for their efforts in driving this. To Governor Sir Dwight, and Sir Dwight asked me to convey his apologies. He was not able to make it today. To Governor Sir Dwight and his always professional and competent team at the Central Bank for their unflagging commitment and support. This product would not exist without the work of our contributors. You will see from the articles that we have lined up some of the most astute experts from the region, as well as some international heavyweights to add gravitas to the magazine. Their pieces go beyond news to business analytics, and we say special thanks to them. And finally, to the advertisers who bought into the dream of this publication and tangibly demonstrated their faith in its possibility. Ladies and gentlemen, the OECS Business Focus and its associated website and social media architecture, we hope, will become as much a tool for dissemination of information as a medium for listening to the voices of business. Because we intend to use the social media architecture to hear back from people, to have debates and discussions going on critical issues relevant to the ease and the promotion of doing business. Let us work together to shape this into a central expression of a growing, vibrant, entrepreneurial, and competitive, yet cooperative business culture in the OECS. At this point, I'd like to call on Mr. Gordon Charles of the Business Council to say a few words.
Dr. Digikas Jules, the Director General of the OECS Secretariat, the members of AMS, Mr. Singh, and all of the other associated persons, the members of the OECS Secretariat, and also to the media here today. I think Dr. Jules has given a very clear and definitive explanation of the magazine and the associated website that is going to be presented here today. From the OECS Business Council's perspective, I'd just like to say how vitally or critically important this is as it spells a way forward for some of the things that we expect out of the development of our OECS single space. The Business Council is really a community of relationships between each of the islands. You have a representative from each territory sitting on one council from the private sector of each island, which communally will be looking at matters and issues that are relevant and relative to all of the islands specifically. So we represent the private sector council in each territory, and the private sector council in each territory represents, by extension, all of the various private sector organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, the Hotel and Tourism Associations, the Employers Federation, Coalition of Services. So it's really an umbrella body that is there to look after the needs of the private sector, to represent the private sector at the OECS level and beyond, because we recognize that you become very diluted in your ability to negotiate and push your issues forward when you are in actual fact one small territory or one small representative. Now the OECS has a voice. The OECS private sector has a voice to be able to champion a lot of its causes that we feel are important to the development of the OECS single space. This initiative, I'd like to really applaud the OECS Secretariat for Commission for having the foresight and bringing Mr. Singh and AMS on board, because in actual fact, it, I think, steps or presents a significant step in the direction that we see at the OECS Business Council for the development of relationships between the public and private sector. This initiative, we I think are all aware of the value of the Business Council, the business focus in St. Lucia, and I believe it also has one in Antigua. I can tell you certainly that there are very few business houses that don't open this document and go through it from cover to back every time a new issue is sent out, because it provides vital information on the markets, on your competition, on opportunities that are there. And now this new iteration of the magazine provides a wider scope. One of the things that the Business Council is clear on is the importance of the single space, and presenting to our business houses the opportunity of working towards not just St. Lucia or Dominica or Grenada or St. Vincent, but St. Lucia and Dominica and Grenada and St. Vincent. The opportunities are there. Right now, the act is being developed to talk about the free movement of goods across the territories. We already have the free movement of people. We're looking at the free movement of goods. These are things that will allow business to expand and have a much wider vision in terms of their marketplace. We're talking about moving from, each island having just a couple of 100,000 persons to possibly multiples of that with the inclusion of possibly Martinique and some of the other French islands. You're looking at an even larger territory to be able to communicate with and look at as your home base of opportunity. One of the key items that the OECS Business Council has identified as important in its focus for the first year is, in actual fact, the opportunity of developing public and private partnerships between the governments and the local entities. Certainly, there are opportunities that abound in the various territories. Our economies are cash-strapped right now, and there are lots of projects that need to happen that we feel the public sector is now beginning to look at engaging the private sector with. And this is important for the private sector to be able to take up that challenge and become partners with the government and the administrations across the region to take on the challenge and develop business opportunities that benefit the public at large. This is actually one first example. Here is an opportunity which has been taken up as I see as a private and public partnership between the OECS Secretariat and a local business, AMS, who's taken up the challenge and formed a partnership between a public and private entity which goes across the OECS, more so than just across one island, which is also important, but recognizes the importance of the OECS space, and therefore is one of the first examples of the PPP arrangement that we'd like to see develop as the OECS single space becomes more and more reality for us all. So with that, the OECS Business Council would like to really congratulate both AMS and also our OECS Secretariat for the initiative. We fully support it, and we will use it as one of the guiding tools to project and develop our efforts of developing a unity and strength between the OECS territories from a business and from a private business perspective. So with that, I thank you very much.
Good morning to all. Dr. Jules, members of the OECS, members of the media, well-wishers of this project. AMS as an entity has been a regional business for the past 15 years. We have been there before the OECS started to talk the single economy. As a private entrepreneur, our business is to see and identify opportunity and to maximize on those opportunities wherever they present themselves. Our company started here in St. Lucia. We have offices now in Antigua and Guyana. We have built a reputation as a leading publishing house, delivering business and tourist publications specifically. The Business Focus St. Lucia is the longest serving business publication in the entire Caribbean. We have now delivered, as with this edition in progress, 82 editions of the Business Focus magazine. In Antigua, we have delivered 57 editions, consecutive editions of the Business Focus magazine in Antigua. As a Caribbean person, and I say a Caribbean person because my history is one that I've traveled extensively across this region, and it has been my dream to produce Caribbean Business Focus. I guess the OECS Business Focus is a step towards that reality. Everywhere we've gone, everybody says, why don't you do the Business Focus in St. Kitts? Why don't you do one in Grenada? And we have had that clamor. The OECS Business Focus has become a reality because Dr. Jules and I met, and the pace at which the progress continued from that initial discussion. I think this has all come to fruition within less than 3 months. And I want to thank Dr. Jules for the opportunity of bringing the brand of the OECS Commission to the table, to partner with our skills of network of agents and offices and reps that we have across the region. We have brought editorial skills, we have brought graphic design skills, photography, all the elements combined. And I want to pay special attention to the advertisers and the business community across the region who've supported this project without seeing a physical copy. We sold an idea, and we've surpassed the expectations that we projected for this project. Today, we have a copy which is testimony to what we identified as being possible. I think what we are going to deliver across the region is going to impact significantly trade, investment, and development. It is meant to serve as a catalyst of opportunities available across the region. And with the partnerships which have been forged, being the OECS Commission, the OECS Business Council, the East Caribbean Central Bank, and by extension, the World Wide Web, the possibilities are limitless for us to explore and exploit. We speak of economic depression, we speak of difficult times, but if we lay down and play dead, we will die. If you get the spirit that you can make things happen and believe that you can effect and implement this product, and you work at it, you find the strategic alliances, then yes, it will happen. So we are proud to have been the catalyst in making the OECS Business Focus a reality. The magazine is going to be quarterly. We can tell you already before we go into issue 2 and issue 3 that we have the government of Antigua and Barbuda who've agreed to do the special feature for issue 2. And we have agreed that issue 3 will be a special emphasis on the tourism industry. Dr. Jules, Beverly Best, and myself, along with Mr. Filbert and Dominica, form what is called the Magazine Editorial Committee, and we are the drivers behind what you will see as the end product today. It is a vehicle as well by which the OECS can sell its message of the good work that you're doing as an organization. And you will see in the magazine articles from the OECS. There are some outstanding elements of the OECS which have not necessarily gained the recognition they should. And we believe this vehicle will allow you to showcase some of those efforts. And I believe one of them I can single out is the PPS, which I believe is a model that has been replicated elsewhere and has been evaluated for its success in the purchasing of pharmaceuticals. And we can go on. The organizational structure of the OECS Business Council is also another novel idea which is not new to the region, but with the success of us making the advances that have been done by the OECS Commission in setting the stand for the OECS single economy, we now have the opportunity to get the OECS Business Council on a firm footing. And I say that because the forerunner to that was a bigger organization called the Caribbean Association of Industry and Commerce, of which St. Lucian entrepreneurs played a major part. We had Charmaine Gardner as the first woman who became president of the CAIC, and I believe the only woman. And here we are that the CAIC today is almost non-existent. So the advent of the OECS Business Council is a great opportunity to galvanize the resources of the business community and to strategize on the opportunities available. I can share one right now that I believe is on the front burner as well of Dr. Jules. We have produced this magazine in Trinidad. We are trying to distribute this magazine across the island chain, and shipping is a nightmare. In a small region like this, you would have thought we should be able to ship things easily. Thankfully, we can say the airlines are full with summer traffic. They are not taking any cargo. We have a lack of ships servicing the islands, and if they do, you'll probably get a ship going once every 2 weeks to Antigua out of Trinidad. And those are the issues that face us as a small island community. We look forward to this magazine breaking ground in the French West Indies, with Martinique being your newest member. And we just have to look at the population of Martinique and see the opportunity in a market of that size. Hopefully, I'm not going to be told we need to now produce the magazine in French. But I believe, I forecast that is going to happen. So for us as publishers, whilst we have been producing the printed product, and it's glossy and colorful and exciting, the reach of this product via the World Wide Web is the exciting opportunity that we face today. I am not of the new generation, and I speak because I hear and listen to the young people and their conversations about social media and what have you. But we need to engage that community, and the business community is not necessarily a community of elders. It is a community for the new generation of entrepreneurs to take root and evolve. And they will evolve based on what we know as new opportunity being ICT and the services sector. So we are going to engage the young people with this website. We are going to engage the wider investment community with information that they need to know. And we are going to use the OECS Business Focus as a platform where we hope we can stimulate the economic rebirth of the region. We are particularly happy to be the strategic partner chosen by the OECS. We are happy that we have been able to deliver the expectations within record time of what was believed impossible. We are here excited about the reality of this first edition. We are more than excited about the future editions based on the feedback we are having. And I want to thank our team of staff at Advertising and Marketing Services in St. Lucia, at Regional Publications Limited in Antigua, and the other offices which have played their part in making this project a reality through their efforts. Our printers did a yeoman job in turning this job around, because when we spoke originally, this magazine was meant to be delivered. We took an undertaking to deliver this magazine in Antigua for the end of July. We made that timeline, but we are delivering it here today in St. Lucia. Be that as it may, Copies of the magazine are already en route, and we hope that the islands of the Caribbean will share the excitement and passion that we have experienced and we have shared with you in making this project a reality today. So on behalf of Advertising and Marketing Services and regional publications and all the persons who have played their part in making this project a reality, we want to say thanks again to Dr. Jules, the East Caribbean Central Bank, the OECS Commission staff, the Business Council, and any others who may have been associated with this project today. So thank you again for the opportunity. We look forward to working with you all going forward, and we hope to make this project a real live demonstration of what true partnerships can deliver. Thank you again. At this time, I believe it is only appropriate that I present the first copies of the magazine to Dr. Jules and Gordon Charles as the president of the OECS Business Council. Business first. Gordon. Congratulations. Thank you. Good. The other side. Good. Yeah. And to Dr. Jules, the reality of the hard work done. Thank you all. We will certainly get copies of the magazine to you guys.
At this point, I would ask Lokesh to just quickly walk us through the website, because as we indicated, there's only so much you can pack into the magazine. The website is the infinite replication of this and allows us to put stuff up there in real time so that we are always current. Okay?
Who's flowing it? Your guys are...
Yes.
Oh, just help me there with this. Go ahead, Dee, come help me with this. Just one. Okay, the cover of the magazine, which is posted on the website, you would have noted that what we have done is not put a face on this issue. We are trying to signal here that there's a range of opportunities across the region, and hence what we did with the cover is give you a sample of the different sectors. In this issue, or in every issue, we will have an editorial, which I've done. We will have a message from Dr. Jules, because there are always going to be new initiatives from the OECS. And so on a quarterly basis, he will bring that message forward. We will be working with Gordon Charles and his OECS Business Council. So again, there should be a message or an article from the OECS Business Council. In every issue, we will have a sectoral approach. So we will feature things like ICT. So the first section of the magazine, if you look at it, we call it Business Tech. And there's the regional approach. As you know, there's a lot of initiatives going on in ICT at the moment. Your competitive business unit is a critical player in that issue. There is a lot happening in the OECS. And so as an organization, you have different sectors within the entity where your specialists will be asked to write articles relevant to their efforts in promoting their agenda. We will feature the country and the sectors going forward. And in this case, we chose St. Kitts Nevis. And here we have actually done an interview with the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis. It did not make the magazine as content, but it is live on the website, so you can read the interview which we conducted with Dr. Timothy Harris. The focus on St. Kitts is actually selling St. Kitts Nevis as an investment and tourism destination in the region, as well as a model economy that has done some unusual things to create opportunity and drive their economy. We have all heard of the CIP, of which St. Kitts has been the model entity in the success story as a CIP destination. It is now being activated in other countries as a source of real income. Their tourism development, which has been tagged on to the CIP, has also been a model opportunity where the rate of construction of high quality tourism facilities has been tremendous compared to other destinations in the region. We know since 2008 there's been a big slowdown in investments, but St. Kitts has continued to progress with their economic activities, particularly directed towards tourism. We go on to, there's a lot of regional information, so we call this Money Matters. And a lot of our countries depend on grants and loans, and these primarily come from world financial institutions, the World Bank, the IDB, the CDB, etc. So we try to sensitize people of these monetary allocations to countries. And the reason for it is, if you are a consultant, if you are a person in the specific area of business where the funds are allocated for, then it means as a business person, it's an opportunity for you to look to expand your horizons. So if all these funds are now coming out for climate change, and you are a specialist in the environment, then clearly, if it is, there's an avenue for you to get into Nevis, because the focus there is going to be on geothermal energy. Or like here in St. Lucia, there's a focus now on geothermal energy. Then there's clearly an opportunity for you to go in there and offer yourselves as a consultant or your business as a consultancy. And so hence the reason we will focus on those kinds of financial transactions which are being negotiated. Yeah, then we go into another section called In the Know. There are a lot of information taking place in the region. So for example, if we went into, let's say, the Guyana situation, Guyana has just been the latest excitement with the concept of the discovery of a significant oil find. If that becomes a reality in the near term, it will change the complexion of that country, because it does not have people. It does not have the resources for the oil sector. And so what it will mean is a huge influx of specialists in the oil sector who will need to be integrated in the oil and gas sector of Guyana. So those are some of the things which we will give you as in the know, because it will mean it is not limited to just what is happening in the OECS countries. We think of this as business, that these pieces of information are going to stimulate us as business people to see opportunity. We go further down, and again, we said we did a bit on the environment, where there is this thrust now on green energy. There is also the issue of people. We have the scenario where people are being employed in senior positions across the region, influential positions. It is always the greatest thing to put a face to a name when you do business. How many of us talk to so many people and we don't know the person, but we are exchanging via email and the phone? And it is always good to put a face to a name. So we will feature the faces of business as they evolve and we get that information. And this goes for both the private and public sector. It is not limited to just the private sector. Outside of that, there was one thing which Dr. Jules was excited about putting in the magazine, because in St. Lucia and Antigua, we feature the new companies registered. And interesting enough, these magazines are read from the back instead of the front, because everybody wants to know who's going into business. In the case of the OECS, with 9 countries and the number of businesses being put into operation, we would have a hell of a number of pages. So what we've agreed to do is that kind of information will become part of the website going forward. Yeah. So I think that is the kind of information which we can feed you. Again, we cover tourism. It is our biggest sector across the region. And there are a lot of different initiatives taking place. Everybody is concerned about airlift. So the issues around Liat and the other carriers coming in. There are a number of new carriers coming into operation. They might be small, but they're filling a gap, and we can only hope that those will grow. In addition to that, there are going to be some general professional articles written by specialists in their own right. So in the case of technology, we work with a guy named Beeville Wooding out of Trinidad, who is, and he is also the ICT advisor to the OECS Commission, but we work with Beeville, and he will be giving us articles. There are similar people like Beeville in other parts of the region. Then we actually have Dr. Ron Sanders, who, as High Commissioner for Antigua in London, has actually been a prolific writer on economic issues across the region. So we will feature more and more people like that. In addition to that, what we would like to do is encourage you guys here, if it is some of you feel that you can produce content which is of relevance and value, we will encourage you. We are not going to limit this. And if the editorial team feels that the content you're providing to us is worthwhile, then you will be featured. The other thing which we want to look at here is the distribution of the magazine. We have limited quantities, but we want to urge all of you, and we have done this with Dr. Jules and Beverly, where we have sent you guys the front cover and the link to the website. We're going to ask you to post this on your Facebook page. If 1,000 of us post this on our Facebook page and we got 10,000 friends combined, then clearly we know the impact on the distribution. What we will be doing as well is we'll be doing some digital marketing of the site. So we will invest in spending some funds marketing the site internationally on the web. And so we will generate the feedback online. But if you can help us by actually taking that page and link and posting to your friends and your connections, then I think it helps the process. So I hope I've been able to give you a sort of overview of the content of the magazine. We have copies here which I believe we can share with you, and we look forward to your feedback as to some of the things which you think are going to work and what else you think we may be able to add going forward. So thank you again.
Yeah, at this stage, we'll just take a couple of questions if there are any from the media. Let's start with our colleagues who are remotely linked in. Are there any questions from anyone?
Good morning, Dr. Jules. This is Dominica. In terms of the private sector engagement, is it possible for the rate cards for advertising to also be made available?
Yes, yes, for sure.
Okay,
through the network of the OECS Business Council, all of the relevant business metrics will be shared with you. And it will also be posted on the website, Lukesh said.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on a fantastic initiative.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Jules from Bennett Roche, Montserrat.
Hello, Montserrat.
I'll be on here. Yeah, hi. I have a question, or two questions anyway. Statistics and data. I noticed that's going to be one of the big features in the magazine. How are we doing in the region? Are you getting the statistics? Are they reliable and up to date, or will they be?
Yeah, well, that's a big challenge that we've been tackling in a different space. We have a project right now with the Caribbean Development Bank that is going to help us create what we call a data warehouse, because what we are doing is trying to reinvent the way in which statistics are collected. We have committees working on that. There's also a project with Statistics Canada that is aimed at creating a new architecture for the collection and dissemination of data across the OECS. The problem to date has been that data has been collected in silos. So we have data, we have some very good, where we think we ought to be with the data on education, and credit to our colleagues here, Marcellus, Albertine, and Cicera, and those who work in the education department. They've done a tremendous amount of work in pulling together educational statistics from all of the member states, and it's not just a compilation of data received from individual member states, but they've put in place an architecture that allows for collection from the base right up to its aggregation at the regional level. So it's a complete ecosystem. And that is what we're trying to do with statistics from all of the spheres, from tourism, from the economy, from business, and so on. It will take some time, but the vision is that eventually we would have a large open data set that will be available, as I indicated in my remarks, by subscription. So businesses can take a subscription. The website will always be free to everyone, but those who pay subscriptions to it can go into a different layer in order to access open data that you can use for business, for making real-time business decisions. So if you want to see a profile, for example, of imports or exports by member states, by product, demand figures, whatever statistics we have, because we recognize that information is perhaps the gas, the petrol that will drive business in this 21st century. And the more we provide it, the more accessible it becomes, the easier it will be to do business. And for us, a key priority in this, and that's why the partnership with the Business Council is so important. We have to stop relying on just direct foreign investment. We have to grow our own entrepreneurs, right? Empower our own people, particularly the young people. And that's another story by itself, because we're doing a whole strategy for youth development that is going to plug them into entrepreneurship opportunities. Just 2 days ago, I came across on the website a story about a young man who's 28 years old, from Dominica, who's developed a 3D game similar to Super Mario, but with Dominica as the location. So this very beautiful Dominican avatar, her name is Michelle, is the one instead of Super Mario. She's the Super Mario of the game. And she goes through different levels, but it's all going a journey around Dominica, discovering things, and the rewards are, instead of diamonds, they are bananas and mangoes and so on. And there are tremendous possibilities there. So we've reached out to this young person because our competitive business unit has to find young entrepreneurs in that vein and support and promote them. And all of this is going to be tied into this this is what this magazine is about, showcasing those opportunities. What was your second question, Montserrat?
And it could come out of what you talk about.
We're not hearing you.
Promoting.
Yeah, you're on.
About promoting the OECS and its business and the environment. You mentioned, it was mentioned somewhere that something is being done in Trinidad. I wasn't sure whether it was the production of the magazine or the printing of it, or both. But what is it that we are doing in Trinidad? And why are we printing it in Trinidad, especially if shipping becomes an issue, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
Coming out of all of this, of course, we have to add transportation.
I know Trinidad is the cheapest place to print. Yeah. That's the bottom line.
Hi, Bennett Roach. The issue is here is I think it's a fact of life that Trinidad is the most developed manufacturing facility in the whole Caribbean. And the printers in Trinidad can deliver the economies of scale and the quality and the quantity and the timeline factors that we work with. It is the most efficient print operation that you will find in the region.
You know, I'm sorry, but I really cannot.
Sorry?
Well, I don't understand that, you see. If I hear you talk about the economies of scale, et cetera, but I know, you know what you said right after that, you mentioned that was the shipping problem. Yeah. It brings into line as well the transportation problem. So there's a cost for that. So when we talk about economies of scales, I'm hoping we're taking all of this into consideration.
Yeah, we are.
And if that is happening, how far are we moving to have somebody, some printer in the OECS who can deliver similar products?
Yeah,
Because
the
what
point
you're
is
doing,
taking the
in fact,
opportunity.
doctor, I can make a suggestion.
Yeah, sure.
That booklets, that magazine that you're printing, can be printed in each territory.
Nonsense.
And rather than having it shipped from some special place, it can be printed in each territory. We can print that magazine right here in Montserrat and circulate the whatever number we need to circulate.
Is this Bennett Roach from Montserrat Printery?
It definitely is.
Well, if it is Bennett Roach from
Montserrat Printing and
this is
Publishing.
Lokesh Singh from the Yellow Pages of many years ago.
How are you, sir? I was going to, I forgot, forgive me, because I was to mention to my group here that Lokesh Singh is a real...
More than 20 years ago.
Thank
the
you.
Caribbean Islands cannot print a telephone directory. And this is the biggest single print job on each island. Up to today, the job has matured and grown away from the Caribbean. The same is happening in the print industry, where unless we make the investment, the costs of manufacture have to be taken in the context of the revenues we generate. And in the region, if a printer in the OECS wishes to come to the table, we welcome them coming with their requests, saying that they can produce this job, and let us sit as a team and weigh the merits of whether that is a reality we should follow. It's an opportunity, as Gordon Charles said, and I am not going to say close the door, but I think if a local business in the OECS community can come to the table with the guarantees that we would need to get insofar as quality of print production, delivery of the product, and the cost of manufacture, then we'd certainly entertain it.
Okay, any other questions from our remote colleagues? Okay, can I turn now to the Senusha media present? Any questions?
Yeah, it's on.
So,
Yeah, like I said, Stan Bishop, The Voice.
Mhm.
So very great
Hi,
initiative.
Dr. Jules.
No, you got to this one.
sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, this is Jeremy Abel from the St. Kitts Nevis Observer. I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. We're talking about printing in Trinidad and so forth. Can you just give us a cost factor associated with that printing? Because we're going back and forth in the sense that it's cheaper to print in Trinidad, and there's a logistical nightmare in moving it from Trinidad and so forth. But can we just have a cost factor to that? And generally, you spoke about the CBI program in St. Kitts and Nevis, which is basically the model of other programs throughout the region. But that program is, in essence, more or less in controversy right now here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Just give us a sense of what or why you guys chose that program to be showcased in this magazine.
Okay, first of all, with respect to the question about the printing costs, we would not divulge that at this point. I mean, this is a matter for our publishers, and the indisputable fact of the matter is that Trinidad and Tobago is in fact the cheapest place to print. And I can tell you that even as a personal attestation, because in a former life as PS Education and also as registrar of CXC, when we looked at printing options across the region, CXC, for example, does not print exam papers within the Caribbean. And there have been many calls for exam papers to be printed within the region, but there are risks that one cannot take in terms of security, in terms of timeliness, deliverables, and so on. So let's understand clearly that the OECS Commission has an absolute commitment to help to grow and groom and support businesses in the OECS. But we cannot do so by cutting off our nose to spite our face. There are considerations. That's why we have a competitive business unit, and that is why it is called a competitive business unit. It is there to help us meet international standards to become competitive. Another thing we have to be very careful about, yes, Trinidad is not part of the OECS, but we are part of CARICOM. And let us not sit in the narrow basins of our insularity and swish water around and think that this is our universe, right? If we want to survive, we have to become globally competitive. With regard to the feature in the magazine is on St. Kitts and Nevis. It speaks to many initiatives in St. Kitts, the tourism sector, the growth patterns. It has the vision of the new government and all of that. So it is not a focus on the CIP in itself. This is just one of several articles in there. Now, the reality of the matter is the CIP program in St. Kitts obviously is not perfect, but it was one of the first programs that was established in the region. It has been one of the most successful in the region. This is not to say it has not had its setbacks and its difficulties. What I believe the new government is doing now is reviewing this to look at whatever the weaknesses may have been, what are some of the issues that members of the international community may have had concerns, so that the program is strengthened, tightened, and expanded. And as a matter of fact, other countries in the OECS are now looking again at the St. Kitts model as a starting point, because it does not make sense to reinvent the wheel. You use that as a starting point, you learn from its strengths, you learn from its deficiencies, and you move forward on a higher platform. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, Stan, you wanted to conclude?
And like I was saying, it's a great initiative, especially since it focuses on individual islands. Because I remember the St. Lucia business focus. In each issue, you'd actually have glimpses of other islands, which made it beautiful. But I especially love the social media component of it, because you go to schools and you see this magazine. I mean, the St. Lucia edition I'm talking about. Kids are going through these magazines, getting business ideas. I interview people for Strictly Business, and they'll tell me they got ideas from the St. Lucia Business Focus magazine. So it's a beautiful initiative.
That's very good news, because baby, we just started.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful initiative to actually have your OECS business, and Lokesh hinted at the French aspect of it.
Yeah, Martinique will.
You really might have to print, or at least have the online.
Well, if you notice,
French.
in the members here, I wasn't able to pull it up for some reason, but Martinique is included in there. So there will be articles on Martinique. Yeah.
It's a very great initiative for OECS.
Oh yeah, there's news on Martinique. So yeah. Okay, so at this point, I want to thank everyone for participating in this. Special thanks to the East Caribbean Central Bank, who graciously assisted us with the use of their facilities. And to everyone who's been part of this, thank you very much. Copies will be distributed through, what's the distribution network? Through the Chambers of Commerce across the OECS. So the same mechanisms for receiving the regular business focus will be disseminated, and we ourselves will be disseminating. The copies are also downloadable online. So again, I want to remind people to please spread the word electronically, and let's sort of make this the must-read magazine for young people in schools who want to think entrepreneurship, for business people who are already established businesses who want to fill the space of the OECS, and for new and upcoming entrepreneurs who want to float innovative ideas. Thank you very much.